Hey friends, how are you guys doing? Are you enjoying hopefully a little bit of sunshine today? As you can see from behind my curtains, there's a little bit of sunshine. Some beautiful spring weather, almost summer. Can you believe that? I wanted to fill you in on what the classes are going to look like um, now that summer is beginning um, to come around the corner. Alex's last day of school is on Friday, and he'll officially be a middle schooler. I don't know how that happened. Um, but as you know, we are going through the book of Romans, and it will end on July 8th, is the last book in Romans. After that, I'm going to be taking a sabbatical over the summer until September 1st, when we hopefully go back to school, right? Um, and in that, please feel free to replay some additional videos that you liked or you wanted to work on. I will also be doing the little yoga snack pop-up um, videos from time to time in hopefully different locations. And just those are 5 to 20 minute shorter versions of a regular class. And we'll be excited to do that. So coming September, um, it will hopefully we will be back to somewhat of a normal practice, and hopefully without masks. But Lord knows what's around the corner. So my hope is that there will be live classes starting September, and I am looking forward to practicing with you face to face. So tonight we're going to be focusing on hips, and get a block, get a strap, get a blanket, and we're just going to really be gentle with our hips, but allowing the opportunity for any stored up tension to be released tonight. So taking just a few moments, getting yourself comfortable, and we will begin our class in just a few moments. I would encourage you in your settling in to just find a rhythmic breath where you can settle your mind, you can settle your heart, and we'll get started in just a few moments. All right, friends, it is time to start class. So let's open up in prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you for just a little bit of a pause. Thank you for the opportunity to catch our breaths, to settle in, to settle down, to examine how we feel in body, mind, soul, and strength. Father, I ask, Lord, that you would align our body tonight. Any areas of tightness or any areas that we're holding on to that's causing anxiety or stress, Father, I ask, Lord, that you would allow those areas to just be revealed and taken care of. Thank you, Lord, that you never uncover anything that you don't intend on healing. Father, would you give us eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart for understanding? Help us to take the time to listen to you. Father, as your truth floods into our hearts, help us to embrace the hope that you've called us to. Father, I bless each person that's listening, practicing. And I ask that you would help me to step out of the way and allow you to teach in and through me. In Jesus' name, amen. So finding a comfortable spot on your mat. And if you have your playlist, go ahead and start it, starting with the She Was the Region for Being. I love some of these instrumental pieces. And whatever position that you're in, allow yourself the opportunity to scan from the crown of your head to your toes and see what areas are a little bit stiff, maybe a little bit fluid. Just examining, no judgment, just allowing an opportunity to just breathe. Feeling your belly expand. And then exhale. If you need to move around in your practice as we're beginning and opening up, give yourself permission to do that. We're in Romans 9 tonight. And as I was reading it last night, I came across two separate things that we're going to really be diving into. And the first comes in Romans chapter 9, verse 13. It says, just as the scripture said, I love Jacob, but I hated Esau. And that's such an encouraging word, right? You look at that and you're like, well, what did Esau ever do, right? So we're going to be diving into that. And it says in verse 14, so how do we talk about that? God's answering the question right there, right? Are God's dealings unjust? Absolutely not, Paul says. Because he said to Moses, I will show mercy who I choose to show mercy to, and I will demonstrate compassion on whomever I choose to have compassion. The point is that God's mercy has nothing to do with our will or the things that we pursue. It's completely up to God. The scriptures even speak to the Pharaoh himself. I have given you a position of power so that I might show my greater power through you, and so that my name might be declared throughout every land upon the earth. So when and where God decides to show mercy is completely up to him. Likewise, when he chooses to harden one's heart, how can we argue? Pardon me. So those two things, Jacob I loved and Esau I hated. And then sometimes God chooses to harden our hearts. And you look at that and you're like, that doesn't sound like a very loving God, does it? I was reading in my study Bible last night. When they talk about the word harden, it actually means used figuratively as obstinate or stubborn. And it says that this doesn't mean God's actively creating unbelief, but rather he withdrew all divine influences that ordinarily acted as a restraint. to sin and allowed Pharaoh's heart to pursue its sin without any reduction of an intensity. So, what does that mean? So, a backstory between Jacob and Esau. Esau was the firstborn. He had a birthright. He had the special firstborn's blessing. He would usually receive the larger portion of an inheritance. And Jacob or Esau sold his birthright, his place as being the firstborn, for a cup of soup. He sold it. He sold it for something that would temporarily satisfy. And so when God says, I hated Jacob, or I loved Jacob and I hated Esau, Jacob actively went after that birthright. He actively went after, I want the blessing, I want the promise. And Esau just kind of threw it away. And so what God's saying here is don't throw away your blessing. Don't throw away your promise. Don't throw away the things that I've set out for you and given to you as a child of God. And then it goes on to say, is God unjust by doing that? And it goes on to say, regarding Pharaoh, when he chooses to harden one's heart, how can we argue? And so the picture that I got is, you ever see the pictures of the larger person and the younger person's, going at him, wanting to go and sock the bigger guy, and beat him up, right? And the bigger guy has his hand on the kid's head, and the arms aren't long enough for this little kid to be, messing with a larger kid. And so when I picture God allowing Pharaoh's heart to become hardened, I see God removing his hand and just letting what naturally would result in Pharaoh's evil ways, in Pharaoh's heart. So it wasn't that God was saying, I'm going to make you sin, right? Because God doesn't tempt us beyond what we can handle, and God doesn't care, or God doesn't make us sin, right? But he allows us to follow our normal tendencies, our normal fallen tendencies. So as we go on through today's practice, I want you to keep that in mind. Hold on to your promise, and don't let your heart be hardened. It says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and in due time, he'll lift you up. It talks about in Daniel how Nebuchadnezzar was brought to a point where he was cast out of his throne, and he ate grass like a donkey. He basically went crazy for a while, until he acknowledged that God was sovereign. And God was the supreme ruler, because Nebuchadnezzar had this idea that he was, just so beyond everything. He considered himself a god, right? And God's like, no. There is only one God, and I will not share my glory with another. And so dive into that tonight and just think about it. Let it ruminate in your mind. So coming to your mat and laying down on your mat, I want you to hug your knees to your chest. Maybe you want to cross your ankles, maybe rock back and forth. Just examining how your hips feel. So as I said earlier, we're going to be focusing on our hips tonight. And I want you to bring the soles of your feet together, your knees apart, and give yourself a nice big hug. Letting your shoulder blades relax on the mat. Maybe you need to adjust your shoulder blades a little bit if you notice any extra pressure that doesn't need to be there. Now your heels can be close to your hips or far away. Letting your jaw relax, your eyes relax. You should feel a nice stretch in your hip flexors. If this is a little bit too much of a stretch, you can always bring your knees up, or you can always prop some blocks or blankets underneath your knees. That'll alleviate some of the tension in the hips. Good. Now open your arms wide, bring your knees together and your feet apart. So you're doing an internal rotation. Then cross the opposite arms over. Finding your breath. And making sure that the outside of your feet are pressing into the mat. Walking your hands back to center. Extend that left leg and draw that right knee to the chest. You're just going to rotate that knee around in the hip socket, pausing where you feel a little bit of tension or a little bit of resistance. Maybe you want to take it out wide, maybe across your body. We'll get there. Good. Now taking that left hand on that right knee and draw it across the body, taking that right arm out to the side. Now we're just warming up, so be really gentle with yourself, engaging your core, drawing that left rib cage back in. Good, bringing it back to center. You're going to extend that right leg, draw that left knee towards the chest. And again, you're going to rotate that leg around. Just exploring and seeing how your hips feel. So you notice if you've had a stressful day, your hips will tend to ache afterwards. You might not realize it at the time, but once you take the time to stretch those muscles out in your hips, it's amazing how much tension is stored up there. Now taking that right arm across the left knee, drop that left knee across the body, and taking that left arm out as a counterbalance. Good. Coming back to center. And you're going to take that left knee, bend that left knee. You're going to extend that right leg up towards the ceiling. You're just going to point and flex your foot. Maybe rotate the ankle clockwise, counterclockwise. And then you're going to drop the tailbone down towards the mat. You notice how my leg went down just a little bit. I'm leveling out and I'm bringing into alignment my pubic bone, my hip bone, and my ribs, which should be in one line here. If you'd like to use a strap around that foot, feel free to. And I want you to exteriorly rotate that right leg. So what that means, the whole length of the leg rotates out. And then I want you to bring it back in and then rotate it in. So your foot, pretend like your foot is in a cast. Bringing it back to center and rotate it out. So your foot is not moving independent of your leg. It's the whole length of the leg. Bring it back to center and rotate it in. It's the whole length of the leg that's doing this. One more full rotation out and in. Give that a little shake out and extend that left leg up towards the ceiling. Point and flex your foot. Rotating that ankle. And again, dropping that tailbone down. And fully exteriorly rotate that leg. Good, bring it back to center. and rotating in. 2 more full rotations. You're relaxing your shoulders, rotating it in, rotating it out. Good. Last time, rotating in. Good. Taking your arms overhead, stretch your legs long on your mat. Good. Rolling up to a seated position. And I want you to come to a kneeling posture. So if your hips or your quads are really tight, go ahead and sit on a block. You can take it at whatever level that you like. And if you'd like, you can always curl your toes under your feet. This is a really good stretch for your plantar fascia. But it might be a little bit intense if it doesn't feel comfortable. So taking your hands behind you, fingertips pointing away, you're going to lift your hips up. And you're going to bring it back down. And you're going to walk your hands forward. Walking your hands back, fingertips reach to the back of the mat. Lift your hips up. So you're starting to warm up the hips, child's pose. Last time, fingertips back, lift the hips. Good, coming back to center. Now coming into a simple seated position, crossing your right foot in front of your left. If you need to sit on something, feel free to. And you're gonna walk your hands forward. So you're exteriorly rotating your legs. You can even take your hands and kind of rotate them out, walking your fingertips forward. Elongate the spine, crown of the head to the tailbone is one straight line. Good. Walking your hands back, crossing that left foot in front. A little bit different sensation. You might notice what side feels a little bit more natural and what side feels a little unnatural. Walking your hands forward. And again, exteriorly rotating your legs. You don't necessarily have to do anything to accomplish that, but just an awareness that you're opening your hips up. Good. This is also a really good stretch for your low back. Good. Walking back, left hand on your right knee, twist to the right, lift the lower ribs off the hips, and you're twisting your belly button towards that right hip crease. Good. Coming back to center, right hand on that left knee, twisting the belly button towards that left hip crease. Lifting the heart. Good. Coming back to center, rolling forward to tabletop, stacking your shoulders over your wrists, hips over your knees. You're going to come into a couple of cat-cows. So leading with your pelvis. So it's a focus on the hips. Tucking the tail, tucking the chin into cat. Rotating those triceps towards your armpits. Inhale into cow. And exhale into cat. One more full round, coming into cow. Heart between your arms. And exhale into cat. Coming back to neutral, you're going to extend that left leg out. And you're going to bring it in, knee to nose. Inhale, lift it out. And exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, lift it out. And exhale, knee to nose. You'll notice that my hips weren't necessarily level, but I'm wanting to get that extension of that leg. And I'm stretching my toes, then I'm bringing it in. It's more of an elongation rather than a leveling out, so more of a sensation. Extending that right leg out. Knee to nose. Extending it out. Elongate the neck. Equal pressure underneath both hands. 2 more times like this. Extend it out. Bring it back in. Last time, extend it out. Bring it back in. Good. Stepping that left knee forward. You're going to come into a kneeling lunge. So use a block if you'd like. Elongates your hands just a little bit. You're going to exhale into hamstring stretch. You're being really gentle, drawing the shoulders back. You're going to inhale into that kneeling lunge. Good. Back into that hamstring stretch. Good. This time, when you come up into that kneeling lunge, take that right hand on the inside of that left leg, left hand on that knee. You're going to twist your belly button towards that left hip crease. If you'd like to take that left hand up towards the ceiling, feel free to. Good. Taking the left hand on the inside of that right leg, you're going to step that left leg back, come back into child's pose for just a moment. Inhale into that kneeling lunge, right foot forward. Good. Just loosen it up, back to a hamstring stretch. Toes press back towards your nose. Inhale into that kneeling lunge. Good. Coming into that hamstring stretch. Crown of the head to the tailbone is one straight line, drawing the shoulder back. Coming forward, kneeling lunge, left hand on the inside of that right leg, right hand on your right knee, twisting the belly button towards that right hip crease. And you can lift that right hand if you'd like. Good. Taking that right hand down, step that right foot back into child's pose. Good. Inhale. You're going to step that left foot forward this time. Good. And I want you to move that left foot over just a little bit to the outside of that left side of the mat. This time you're going to plant that left foot into the mat. You're going to straighten that front left leg. You're going to take your right hand on your waist. You're going to press your hips forward just a little bit. You're going to lift that left hand. So that right elbow presses back. So this is kind of a half camel. You're lifting your heart. You're pulling that left hip back just a little bit, softening the tailbone. You're going to exhale, coming down, kneeling lunge. That right hand remains on the waist, coming up. Soften the tailbone, press the hips forward, hips over your knees. Right elbow pressing back. One more time. You can curl that back toe under if you'd like. It offers a little bit more stability. Good. Last time. Good. Half camel. Good. Coming down into that kneeling lunge, stepping that left leg back. Pull back to child's pose, releases a little bit of that tension. Right foot forward, kneeling lunge. Walking that right foot out just a little bit, so a little bit wider base. Straightening that front right leg. Left hand goes on your waist. Elbow presses back and down. Right hand lifts up. Pulling that right hip back. Hips over your knees. Good. Coming back down, touch the right hand to the foot or the floor. Lifting it up. Right foot presses into the mat. Good. Last time. Coming down, elbows pressing back and down. Lifting it up. Good. Both hands on the inside of that right foot. Step that right foot back. Curling your toes under, lift up to down dog. Walking your dog. Bending one knee at a time. Heel of the hand to the hips is one straight line. So if that means you need to bend your knees a lot, feel free to. Press your fingertips into the mat, step that left or that right leg high, bend the heel to the tail, and square your shoulders towards the floor. Good, stretch that right leg high, step it through. Sweeping up, crescent lunge. Good, pulling that right hip back, softening that tailbone. You're aligning your pelvis. Good. Lift that inner left thigh. Now interlace your hands behind you, press your knuckles down towards the ground. You're gonna press your hips down, lift your heart so you're engaging your core. And you're gonna bend that right knee a lot. So you'll notice my left leg isn't doing much of anything. I'm gonna straighten my right leg. Good. Bending it down. So you're really working that right leg. Coming down as far as you like. There's no tension on that back left leg. One more time, bringing it down. Good. Lifting it up, straighten that right leg. Now sink it back down. Reach the hands up. Open up to warrior two. Now exteriorly rotate that left leg, planting that outside of that right or that left leg into the mat. Good. Exteriorly rotating that front leg as well. Shoulders over your hips. Exalted warrior. Taking that left hand behind you, reaching that right hand up. You're knitting that left rib to that left hip. You can also take that left arm down the leg, but I tend to like to wrap it around the back side of my back. So I'm not tempted to put any pressure on that left leg. You really want to lift the inner left thigh. Good, straighten that front right leg. Good, coming into triangle. Both hands reaching forward, or that right hand reaching forward, coming into that pyramid or triangle. Now that left shoulder isn't dropping down. You're really drawing that left shoulder back. If that means you need to lift up just a little bit so that shoulder doesn't roll forward, give yourself permission. Good. Taking your hand down, step back to down dog. Lifting that left leg high. Heel to the tailbone, square the shoulders. Good. Step it forward. Sweep up, crescent lunge. Pull that left hip back. Lift the inner right thigh. Good. Interlace your hands behind you. Press your knuckles down towards the ground. You're going to bend that right knee. Now you notice with that left leg, or you're going to bend that left leg. You'll notice with that right leg, it's not taking any of the brunt of the work. It's all that front left knee. 5 of these total. This is number 1. And 2. And 3. And 4. Really pressing into that left foot. And 5. Lifting it back up. Bending that left knee. Reach the hands up, crescent lunge. Open up to warrior 2. Exteriorly rotate both legs. Good. Shoulders over your hips. Lift the heart. Lower ribs off your hips. Exalted warrior, wrapping that right hand behind you, lifting that left hand up. Lift that inner right thigh. Straighten that front left leg. Reach the left hand forward, coming into that triangle. Good. Bringing that back around, coming into down dog. We're going to do that once or twice more. Good. If you'd like to come into a vinyasa flow, you can come into your plank, chaturanga, up dog, and down dog. But you don't need to if you don't want to. Good. Reach that right leg high, bend the heel to the tail. Step it through. Crescent lunge. Interlacing your hands, press your knuckles down towards the ground 5 times. Straighten that front left, or bend that right knee. Straighten that leg. Pressing into that right heel so you're not digging into the ball of your foot. Maintaining good alignment, good integrity. There's no pressure on that left knee. If you're noticing pressure on that left knee, don't go down so far. Bending that right knee. Crescent lunge. Open up warrior 2. Press into the outside of that left leg. Exalted back. Good. Straighten that front right leg. Coming into your triangle posture. Drawing that left lung back. Good. Step back to plank or down dog. Your choice. In your down dog, lift that left leg high, bend the heel to the tail, square the shoulders, step it through, sweep it up, interlace the hands behind the back. Pulling that left hip back 5 times, bend that knee deeply. Straighten it up. You're also getting a really nice stretch on the toes. Lifting the heart. Good. One more time. And then sink it down into your crescent lunge, into your warrior 2. Finding your breath, lifting that inner right thigh. Exalted warrior. Good. Straighten that front right leg or front left leg. Coming into your triangle. Reaching that left hand forward. A little micro bend on that left knee. Good. Flow through your vinyasa or come straight to down dog. We're going to be 7 breaths here. Great grammar, sorry about that. We'll be here for 7 breaths. After your 7 breaths, come down to child's pose. Really find a comfortable position here. Taking your hands where they need to be, using whatever props that you need to. Just give yourself permission. Two more breaths here. We're going to come into kneeling plank. Into your kneeling plank, shoulders over your wrists. If you'd like to come into a full plank, feel free to. You're going to lower all the way down. You're going to come into Sphinx pose. Shoulders over your elbows and your forearms parallel with the sides of your mat. Drawing the shoulders back, lifting the heart, and you're going to press your hips into the mat. Good. Ears in line with your shoulders. Really try to elongate your neck. Curl your toes under if you'd like. You can even work at lifting the thighs off the ground. Good. Taking the left hand parallel with the top of the mat, making sure your shoulder is directly above your elbow, and you're going to reach around and grab that right leg, or use a strap if you'd like. You want to make sure you're not dumping into that left shoulder. You're pressing that left shoulder in, and you're inner rotating that right leg. So if you'd like, you can even take that right hand on the inside of that right leg. Good. You can even press your foot into that right hand or the strap. Good. Releasing that. Come and rest your cheek on the mat, relaxing your lower back. You want to make sure that your belly is well engaged. So if there's any low back pain, lower down just a little bit in your posture and make sure that your core is engaged. 2 more breaths here. All right, coming back into that Sphinx posture. Shoulders over your elbows, forearms parallel with your mat. Reestablish that engaged core. You're pressing your pubic bone down into the mat. And you're drawing your shoulders back. Everything's engaged. The ribs are tucked in. Good. You notice my head isn't doing this. That's a kink in your neck. You want to look towards the top of your mat. Press into your arms. Now taking that right hand parallel with the top of the mat. Shoulders over your elbow. You're not bringing it out too far. That puts undue pressure on that shoulder. You want to tuck it right in there. Bending that left knee. Good. You can even take that left hand on the inside of that left leg. That promotes that internal rotation. Pressing into that right leg. You can press that right or that left leg into the left hand. Really engaging the core. Pressing your hips into the mat. Little micro bend in that left elbow. Good. Coming back down, resting the opposite cheek in the mat, on the mat. Good. You're going to come back, left arm parallel with the top of the mat. This time, you're just going to bring the heel towards the derriere here. So you can encourage that by pressing the foot away, engaging the hamstring, the front part of the leg, and then drawing the heel down. If you'd like to come down and rest your face on the mat and just stretch that quad, feel free to. And again, pressing the tailbone down, pressing the hips down into the mat. Good. Switching sides. And again, you're pressing that left foot away, engaging the hamstring. Engaging the quad, And then relaxing that, you're able to bring your left heel a little bit closer to your body. Good. Releasing that, pull back to child's pose. Good. Inhale into tabletop. You're going to bring that left knee up and you're going to cross it over the right and then pull back to that little mini child's pose here. So you're getting a really nice stretch on the outside of that left leg. You're going to come up, bring that left knee towards the left elbow, stretch that left leg out, and you're going to just stretch the leg, pressing the heel away, and then coming back, crossing the leg again, pressing back, same side. Inhale, lift it up. Left knee, left elbow, slide it out. Now cross the left leg across the right side of the body. So you're getting a really nice stretch on the outside of that left side body. Good. Bring the left knee towards the left elbow, cross it one more time. Good. Left knee, left elbow. Stretch it out, and then I want you to bring that right or that left leg directly outside the body. No, that doesn't sound right. Oh my goodness. If it doesn't sound anatomically correct, don't do it. All right, coming up, and you're going to come into the gate posture. So that left leg is coming, I don't even know, perpendicular with the body. Oh, good Lord. All right. Lift the inner right thigh or left thigh, coming into that gate posture. Good. Tying that left lower rib to the hip. Pressing the hips forward just a little bit. As you do that, as you drop that tailbone down, as you press the hips forward, you'll feel that all along the right side body. Good. Coming into that kneeling side plank. Right hand down, left hand lifted. Drawing the shoulders back and pressing to the outside of that left foot. Again, lifting that inner left thigh. Good. Good. Coming back to tabletop. You're going to do that on the right side. So tabletop, right knee, right elbow, cross the legs, sink down. Inhale, right knee, right elbow. Stretch that right leg out. You're going to stretch the calf muscle, stretching the toes. Good. Right knee, right elbow. You're engaging your core as you're doing that, crossing that right leg over the left. Inhale, right knee, right elbow. Cross the right leg over the left. You're squaring your shoulders. You're getting a really nice stretch on that right side body. Good. One more time. Right knee, right elbow. Cross the legs. Sink back. Coming up, right knee, right elbow. Extend that right leg out to the side, doing the anatomically incorrect posture of removing the leg. And extending out from the side, lifting that inner right thigh, coming into that gate posture. You know, I'm not serious, right? You don't remove your leg. That would not feel good. Really breathe into that left side body. And again, shifting the hips forward just a little bit. Making sure you're not dumping into that right leg. You notice that just right now, this is dumping in. This is engaging. Coming into that extended side angle. No. Kneeling plank. Good. Dropping that right shoulder blade down. Moving the heart up. Pressing the hips forward. You'll get that nice juicy stretch there. Good. Coming back down. Child's pose for just a moment. And swinging your legs around. You're going to bring that left knee into the inside of that right leg. You're going to shift your hips towards the length of that left or that length of that right leg. You can use a strap if you'd like. And you're moving that left shoulder towards that right big toe. You're lifting the tailbone, you're relaxing that quad. Good. Moving that belly button, maybe a quarter of an inch closer to that right leg. Drawing the toes back towards the nose. In fact, taking that pinky toe and see if you can bring it back, maybe like a 1/16 of an inch back towards that right shoulder. You're relaxing your hips, you're relaxing your quad. And then coming up, you're going to shift your hips now towards that bent left knee. And if you're using a strap, move that right shoulder towards that right big toe. And you can use the inside of that right leg as kind of a bolster for your right hand, your right forearm. And twisting your belly button a little bit towards that left hip crease. And that left hand can do whatever it'd like. Maybe you want to reach it up and over towards that right foot. Maybe you want to take it behind your head. Maybe you want to wrap it behind you. So can I be honest? As I was reading Romans 9, I always have a really hard time with the passages that talk about God's justice and his mercy and the his sovereignty and his choice. And what really helped me last night was realizing that picture of when Pharaoh's heart was hardened, that little note that said God just withdrew the divine influence that prevented Pharaoh from moving forward with what his mind and his tendencies wanted to do. So if you think of a little kid who is hell-bent on putting his hand on a stove, and you know that it's going to be damaging, you know it's not a good thing, but also realizing that unless they learn and reach out and realize this is hot, this is damaging, they're not going to learn, right? And you don't want to see your kids go through difficulties like that. You don't want your kids to feel that pain, right? Coming back to center, you're going to pause for just a moment, let your spine relax. Maybe you need to Move that around a little bit. Now taking that right foot on the inside of that left leg. Shifting your hips towards the length of that left leg. You're going to walk your foot, your hands down the length of that left leg. Left shoulder or right shoulder towards that left big toe. So I guess what I'm trying to say is God in his mercy will put his hand up in front of us, per se, and say, I'm not going to let you go any farther. I know that this is going to be damaging for you. And we still fight him on it, right? We still fight him and thinking that we know better. And sometimes he's just like, okay, I'm going to give you over to what your heart's desire is, because I know where your heart is leading. And I hate to look at it that way, right? I don't like to maybe it's pride, maybe it's, I don't know what it is. But just realizing, I don't have all the answers. I want God to be my image, but that's not who he is. His ways are so much higher than our ways. His thoughts are so much higher than our thoughts. Coming back, you're going to shift your hips towards that bent right knee, left shoulder towards that left big toe, and the inside of that left leg acts as a bolster. But if we rely on his character says he's good. He's slow to anger, abounding in love. If we understand his character, or we're desiring to know who he is, when you come across hard passages like this, why would you hate Esau? Or why would you harden Pharaoh's heart? When you know God's character, you know his compassion, his love, and his mercy. Good. Move that left lung forward just a little bit. Relaxing that left quad. Coming back out of that, you're going to pause for just a moment. We're going to come into pigeon posture. So I want to walk you through and encourage you to come into a traditional pigeon. So that left foot's going to be forward. And ideally, you want the left knee and the left hip to be in alignment, and then the left knee to the left ankle flexed to come into alignment before you bring that right leg around. Now the hips need to be squared to the floor. So sometimes the hips are a little bit too tight for that. So you take a blanket and you can just put it under that left cheek. And then you can elevate that left hip so that your hips are more square towards the floor. And I'll show you from the side. Pigeon posture is my absolute favorite position to get into. You can even use a block if you'd like. You can curl that toe under. You want to level the hips up. So draw that right hip up so that it meets the left. That left foot is flexed. Now, if you try this, you get into this position, and even with a blanket or props, and it really doesn't feel comfortable, feel free to go into that reclined pigeon where you're on your back and you're crossing that left ankle over the right knee. Good. Bringing that right hip up just a millimeter. And roll forward over that left shin. If you'd like, you can always take a block, rest your forehead on there. Or you can even add to that by bending that left knee. You can even reach around and grab that, or you're bending that right knee. Coming out of that pigeon on the left side and switching to the opposite side. So sometimes coming into a down dog feels yummy after this. Sometimes just going straight into the opposite side feels good. Right knee is in line with the right hip. You're flexing that right foot. And again, you can lift that right cheek if you'd like. You're pulling that left hip up just a little bit, so it's a little bit more level with that right hip. You're relaxing your shoulders. You're rolling forward on that right hip just a little bit. Good. Just breathe into the hips. And again, give yourself permission if a reclined pigeon is more beneficial for your body. But it's always fun to just try and explore. Three more breaths here. Good. Coming out of that pigeon posture, if you need to do a down dog, feel free to. Or if you're on your back, just slowly finding a range of motion for your hips. You're going to come down on your back. You're going to take your strap. And I want to offer a couple of little different suggestions. I'd like you to take your block, if you have it, and lift your hips up and put your block right on your sacrum. So your sacrum is the bone, the back part of the hips. It's that little triangular bone. So this is a really lovely low back release. You don't want to arch your back. You want to bring your hips into alignment. So pubic bone, hip bone, and lower ribs are in one alignment. I want you to draw that left knee to the chest, extending that right leg, drawing the toes back towards the nose. You're relaxing your shoulders. You're inner rotating that right leg. If you don't have a block underneath your sacrum, this is still a lovely posture, but this offers a little bit more of a hip opener. Now, taking that strap around the ball of that left foot, you're going to extend that left leg up towards the ceiling. You're going to point and flex your feet, but you're going to maintain just a pressing just above the hip, pressing down towards the ground. You're engaging your core, and then you're drawing the shoulders back, relaxing the heart. Now bring that left knee towards that left armpit. So kind of a half happy baby. Seeing a nice lovely stretch in that right leg, that right hip flexor. Press that left leg up towards the ceiling, and then bring it out to the left side. And you'll notice that right hip wants to pop up. Really encourage it to anchor down, root down. Bringing it back to center. And you're just going to tick-tock it a little bit over towards the right. You want to maintain keeping your hips on that block if you're using a block. Bringing it back to center. Extending that left leg. Reestablishing that engaged core, bringing the right knee towards the chest. Now, if you're listening to the playlist, it just ended. So feel free to listen to something else or just enjoy a little bit of a silence as we stretch here. Good. Inner rotate that left leg. Now taking your strap around the ball of that right foot. And again, realign the hips. So you're really feeling a nice stretch on that left hip flexor. You're pressing into the lower ribs towards the floor. Good. Now bringing that right knee towards the right armpit. Kind of a half happy baby. You'll get that really deep stretch in that left hip flexor. Nice deep full breaths in. Extend that right leg up and bring it out to the side. Encourage that left hip to remain rooted and grounded. Bringing it back up to center and just tick-tock it just a little bit over towards that left. Good. Bring it back to center. Extend both legs out. Really press the hip bones down, kind of tilt the pelvis up just a little bit, pressing the lower ribs into the mat. We'll get a little stretch here. Nice long Saturday morning stretch. Legs stretched, arms overhead. Bend the knees carefully. Supported bridge. And moving your knees from side to side, press into your feet, lift the hips up into bridge. Remove that block if you're using it. You're going to hug your knees to your chest. Taking your arms out to the side, drop your knees to the right. If you'd like, you can extend that top leg if that feels comfortable, or you can use a block between your knees. You're tucking that right rib cage in, engaging the core. Nice big inhale and exhale. Bring your legs back to center and over towards the left, gazing over your right arm. And again, giving yourself permission, if you want to extend that left leg, feel free to. You're making sure your core is engaged, the belly button's twisting towards that left or towards that right hip flexor. Good, engaging your core, bringing your legs back to center, and seeing if there's any additional stretch or twist or movement you would like to do before you come into final relaxation. So giving yourself just a few moments. I'm going to turn on my playlist for just a moment. Finding that comfortable spot where you can settle in. Allowing yourself to breathe. Doing a body scan from the crown of your head to your toes. How do your hips feel? Allowing your shoulders to relax, your eyebrows, your eyeballs, your upper and your lower jaw. Allowing your throat to relax and your shoulders to soften. Allowing your shoulder blades to embrace the back side of your heart. Maybe that opens up the front side of your chest just a little bit. Feeling your belly expand and exhale. Taking notice of how your hips feel now at the end of practice. Seeing if there's any difference, not only in your body, but in your mind, your soul, and your heart. Taking notice of your quads, letting them relax, your kneecaps, your calves, and your ankles. Feeling your toes, maybe wiggling your toes. Letting the heaviness of your arms press into the mat. Removing tension in your wrists and your fingers. And 5 deep, full breaths here. Exhaling through the mouth. Wiggling your fingers and toes. And roll over to one side for just a moment. Feeling how you feel, how your body feels. And when you're ready, come up to a seated position. Heavenly Father, I thank you for tonight. I thank you for your mercy, and I thank you for your justice. And God, I don't completely understand it, but I know you're a good God. I thank you, Lord, that there is so much that you protect us from. You protect us from ourselves. You protect us from others. You protect so many unseen things. God, I thank you, Lord, that you restrain our natural tendencies for destruction. Thank you, Lord, that you're so good and you're so gentle. Help us to see and understand and desire to know you, your character. Father, would you humble us? And I thank you, Lord, that you say in your word, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and in due time he'll lift you up. And that hand is one of protection. Thank you for protecting us. Give us wisdom and how to apply that wisdom. Bless each person. Help them to have a an amazing remainder of their day. In Jesus' name, amen. So thank you, friends. I enjoyed practicing with you, and we will see you on Wednesday when we start on Romans 10. Have a great day.